Back when we were all working in an office setting, you couldn't really do much about the things around you. From day one on the job, you're given a desk and a chair, and it doesn't really matter if this desk or chair was right for the way you worked. You just had to make do. With the pandemic still in full swing, many companies have had to employ a work-from-home setup to stay in business. And for those with desk jobs like myself, it's finally opened up opportunities for us to set up a workspace that actually improves productivity and motivation. Welcome back to All Things Considered. My name is Paulo, and today I'll be sharing how I created my own setup without spending a small fortune. Let's get into it. After 15 years of working a desk job across several companies, both here and briefly in the US, I can say that Philippine office setups still have a long way to go when it comes to workplace ergonomics. But although the office environment might have felt uninspiring and was lacking in creature comforts, one thing it did provide was setting the mood for focused work. One of the biggest challenges of working from home that I've experienced myself was finding the focus to get into that deep work state, where you can sit in front of your computer for hours and get things done with minimal distractions. Having this clean and productive setup where I actually look forward to working every day has had a major impact on my motivation. So much so that I feel more productive now in this space than I've ever been inside an office. The first thing I needed was a stable internet connection. This office is in a room upstairs, but my internet line was routed through a wall downstairs in the living room, which meant the Wi-Fi connection up here wasn't very stable. To fix this, I set up a wired connection from the downstairs modem by running an Ethernet cable up to the second floor. I did this from the outside of the house so I wouldn't have an ugly cable snaking through the interior. In order to get the appropriate length on the cable, I had to do the cutting and crimping myself. And it was simple enough to figure out thanks to some tutorials on YouTube. But if you can't find an efficient way to route a cable to your preferred office location, you can also consider boosting your Wi-Fi stability by setting up a mesh network. We've been using the Tenda mesh system for about 6 months, and it has significantly improved the Wi-Fi stability and speed inside our 80 square meter home. For my power supply, I've been using this power strip from Royu that has switches for each plug so I can turn things on and off individually. Though I'm considering upgrading to a smart power strip that will let me activate all the plugged-in devices from my phone. Having a power strip allows you to plug in more devices like a phone charger or a desk lamp, and it also adds flexibility to how you might end up arranging the things on your desk later on, because you won't be restricted by cables anchored to the wall. Back when I began this project, the only desk space I had to work with was my old model painting station with all my tools shoved to one side. And it didn't take long for me to get frustrated with all the unnecessary stuff I had to stare at every day on this cramped desk. After going on the hunt, I found some affordable tables on Shopee that are sturdy enough for a computer setup and come in lengths of 80, 100, 120, and 140 centimeters. At this price point, you can't really expect solid wood, but it is adequately strong enough for a computer setup, if a bit on the wobbly side. I've been using my office-issued Dell laptop, and so far it has been adequate for all of my work. I bought a 27-inch monitor which would serve as my main screen, with the laptop acting as a backup whenever I have to do a lot of multitasking. I was able to do this for a bargain by purchasing a used monitor off of Carousel. The monitor arm holding up my screen and laptop were also second-hand finds, and although they did show a bit of wear and tear when they arrived, they've been working perfectly fine for my needs. With this setup, I'm able to position the monitor to a comfortable height and distance so I don't strain my neck during longer working sessions. Having the laptop elevated this way also gives it more room to breathe, as it tends to get hot whenever I have multiple applications running simultaneously. A word of caution, buying pre-owned stuff is a great way to save some cash, but it can be hit or miss, so make sure you practice due diligence in verifying the condition of the item you're buying. If you aren't picking up the item in person, ask the seller to send pictures of the item from multiple angles. Get the seller to disclose any issues or defects before you seal the deal, and if you're okay with some minor flaws, you might be able to haggle for a better price. Moving on to the rest of my peripherals, I'm currently using a GK61 mechanical keyboard that I assembled myself. It has linear switches with soft springs, which means it's very light to type on despite looking like a chunky old IBM keyboard. The height of the board, however, made my wrists hurt, so I made a wrist rest by cutting a bamboo chopping board in half. This puts my wrist at a much more comfortable angle, and since I switched over to this type of keyboard, I was actually able to double my typing speed. Now this didn't happen overnight. I had to put in a lot of practice in improving my typing skills over the past year, and I'll make sure to cover how I achieved this in another video. My mouse of choice is the Logitech MX Anywhere 2S, which is a more portable version of the popular MX Master mouse. It's definitely more expensive than your typical generic wireless mouse, but it packs in so many great features that it makes it well worth the investment. Clicking on the scroll wheel unlocks a free spinning mode, so it behaves kind of like a fidget spinner, which lets me scan through thousands of rows of data or pages of code with a quick flick. The scroll wheel also tilts left and right to scroll horizontally. The Logitech Options app lets you set up custom gestures and button combinations, which can be unique for each app, so you can really customize it to improve your workflow. In my setup, for example, holding down the middle button and sliding the mouse to the left triggers the snipping tool for quick screenshots. There is already a version 3 of this mouse out on the market, however I haven't found the need to upgrade just yet. I'll be working on a tutorial video of how to set up these types of shortcuts in Logitech Options, so look out for that in the future if you decide to get a mouse from the MX line. I've also been using this wrist rest for my mouse, and it comes in this funky ergonomic shape that actually feels nice to the touch and reduces fatigue. For sound, I recently upgraded to the Edifier R1280dB speakers and the Fantech Leviosa condenser mic. I did a lot of research on affordable but great performing audio devices, and these two came up with excellent reviews at the perfect price point. Mounting the mic on a boom arm lets me position it properly for meetings and move it out of the way when not in use. I haven't been using headphones or earphones to attend my meetings as much since I started working in this private space, but for the rare occasions that I do, I alternate between the SoundPeats T2 truly wireless buds and my old Sennheiser HD440 over-ears. Full reviews for all the tech items mentioned are in the works as well, so stay tuned for those. The speakers are sitting on a DIY monitor riser I put together using half-inch plywood and some pine wood blocks. As you can see, it's built more for function than form with the raw finish. I made some cuts on the right end to accommodate the monitor arm and to get the laptop at the angle that I want it to face. Underneath, I have these two plastic trays that act as mini drawers for some frequently used items. I also keep this old tablet as a remote for the LED light strips, a macro pad for keeping track of some stocks, and to monitor a security camera I have set up downstairs. Flanking my desk on the right side is a TV stand also sourced from Shopee. I use it for extra storage with a trio of trays from Moderno, keeping smaller items organized. Underneath the desk is this ottoman where I keep larger items, and it also doubles as a comfortable footrest when I want to recline my chair. Speaking of my chair, it's really nothing to sing praises for and is definitely one of the things I'm looking to upgrade soon. It's a generic mesh swivel chair with a recline function and a fold-out leg rest, which I hardly ever use. I did replace the plastic casters with some rollerblade type wheels, and it makes for a much smoother ride on the tile floor. To the left of my monitor, you'll find a whiteboard and a corkboard that I use to keep track of my to-do list for the week. Over on the right-hand side, I have a couple of wall-mounted shelves where I keep my most frequently used bags. For decor, I have an actual mecha model that I built and painted myself on display. Books and magazines break up the color a little bit, and of course, a lot of nice plants for a fresh and relaxing vibe. Lastly, a pair of framed maps of my favorite cities are on the wall to my right. So that wraps up my budget work from home setup for 2021. I know that it'll continue to evolve and adapt to my workflow moving forward, but I do hope that I was able to inspire you today to start working on your own setup. As long as you're willing to put in the time and effort to do some research and maybe build some of the pieces yourself, you can achieve a good setup without spending too much. If you like some of the items you saw in the video, I'll make links down in the description, and some of these might be affiliate links that help support the channel at no additional cost to you. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I put up a new video. Until next time, this has been Paulo for All Things Considered. Have a good day.